Happy Purim, everybody. Purim Sameach. It is now Purim 2010. That means Tav Shin Ayin. Is everybody in a good mood for this great Yom Tov of Purim? Purim is the second of our two holidays, the Rabbanon, Chanukah and Purim. Chanukah represents the survival of the spirit of the Jewish people. And Purim represents the physical survival of our nation as a physical people. That's why we are happy, and we get mellow, and we get beautiful, and we don't get drunk, unless you want to imitate the nations of the world. We get Chaim lebesuma b'puria adelo yoda ben orahama lebaruch Mordechai. And orahama, you know how much that is in Gematria? Some people don't even know it when they're sober. And Baruch Mordechai and Orahama, both the same Gematria, 502. So you have to get in a mellow mood and be happy that God physically kept you alive. Just like on Chanukah spiritually kept you alive. Therefore Chanukah, the mitzvah is to light a menorah, no mitzvah to eat. And on Purim it's a mitzvah to drink and eat because we're physically alive. We are so lucky to be part of Klal Yisrael. So therefore on this Purim, I have a special gift for you, special thing you never ever saw on any video of anybody of Torah anytime, ever. Ever. I have someone here, no, it's not the flowers. I have someone here that is a unique man in the United States of America. He is the only Torah true from farmer. And you may have read about him in the New York Times, twice written up on the first page of the, the business section or the industrial section. His name is Abraham Perlman from Maine, 700 miles above New York, near Vancouver, near Canada. He's the most interesting person you ever want to meet. And I found him the most interesting person I ever met. You want to see him? I'll show you a photograph of him. Now, where's that photograph? Let me see. Oh, I think you don't need a photograph. He happens to be sitting right here. Here is Reb Abraham Perlman, my friend, my from farmer from Maine. You never met a man like this, ever, ever, ever. Now, let us interview Mr. Abraham Perlman from Maine. Shalom Aleichem, Abraham.
Aleichem Shalom.
You are from Maine?
I'm from Maine.
What city? Bangor?
Jonesport.
Jonesport, Maine. Where is that?
It's in the northeast section of Maine.
Northeast, so very close to Canada?
An hour from New Brunswick.
An hour from New Brunswick, and it is cold up there. And when we get, I don't know about in Brooklyn, you got 18 inches of snow. When we get usually 4 inches or 8, they get 28. Last week we got up here 18 inches. I don't know how much they got, but they can get 2 or 3 feet of snow. Tell me, how long have you been in Jonesport, Maine?
40 years.
40 years. What? You are a farmer. You have a lot of cows?
Just produce.
Produce. And an orchard?
Have an apple orchard.
Apple orchard. How many types of apples do you grow?
Currently about 30.
30 types of apples. What else do you grow on your farm?
All the vegetables that grow there. All the cabbage family, the potatoes, and
look at them.
Carrots.
Yeah.
And beets, onions, leeks, garlic.
Now, let me ask you something. I know something, but you people don't know. He is an organic farmer, no artificial fertilizer. Well, then how do you fertilize your products?
We use, currently we use seaweed and crop residue.
Crop residue and seaweed. Aha. So let me ask you, how do you live up there? Do you walk to your minion? You have to, miles and miles to walk to a minion? Which is the closest, how far is the closest minion?
About 90 miles.
90 miles. How do you get there every Shabbos morning?
We stay right there on the farm.
We stay right on the farm. So he's a little bit isolated, but he wouldn't give that up for the world. You know why? He can commune with HaKadosh Baruch Hu so beautifully. Let me ask you now. Tell me some of the luxuries or stuff you have on the farm that makes life interesting.
Luxuries.
Luxuries.
Telephone?
Tell what?
Telephone?
Telephone? Well, how do you get your electricity generated?
Solar and wind.
Solar and wind. Ooh. You mean you have no electric service coming into your place?
No electric service.
No electric service. How do you run your dishwasher?
The dishwasher is
sitting right here. The dishwasher is sitting right here. No electricity. Well, how do you get your meat?
Well, we just eat vegetables and
Oh,
grains.
he's a vegetarian. It's simchani. He doesn't eat meat. No electricity. That must be boring. What do you do to make life interesting?
You get a good hunger.
You get a good hunger, and I'm sure you. I want you to know, Rabbi Isai, this is the only frum farmer in America. He raises all organic food and gourmet type of food. He once showed me, sent us his potatoes. They are blue, not dyed, naturally blue potatoes, and carrots this thick and that long, and really the real color of carrots. And they taste like something you never in your life ate. Well, Mr. Perlman, on Shabbos, how do you get your light?
Well, we leave our propane lights on.
The propane lights.
Mantle lights.
Let me ask you something else. How long you been there?
40 years.
40 years. And when you came up there, did you buy this farm from somebody else?
No, we built it from scratch.
What did you find there when you got there?
A gravel pit on clay.
A gravel pit on clay. And was there a house you could move into?
No, there's nothing there, just virgin land.
And so where did you sleep?
We had a mail van.
A mail truck van. Oh my goodness. Wow. And when did you have a telephone?
We have a telephone. We didn't then, though.
How many years do you have a telephone?
About 30 years.
30 years of telephone. Well, I know he has a telephone because he learns with me on the phone and with many people throughout the United States. That's right. He learns every night of his life, Torah. Every night of his life, people all over the New York and not even New York area, other places, they learn like partners in Torah. That's right. Correct. And you see, you lucky viewers on Torah Anytime, you will never see this anywhere else. This is a unique man. This man, he doesn't daven chakras in 27 minutes and then jump on a bus to go somewhere to work. He davens chakras maybe for 2 hours, and he doesn't start at the winner's minyan at 9 o'clock or 8. He starts at 4 or 4:30 and 5 o'clock. And he has sunrise earlier than any Jew in United States, because Jonesport sticks out a little bit on the ocean and is further east than New York, and he gets Netzacham earlier than anybody else. What is the earliest time you can daven chakras, let's say in the summertime?
I'd have to refer, I can't remember, but it must be about 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock, and he's not finished at 4:28. He takes his time, and he really has a connection with the Borei Olam. He sees when he puts a little seed in dirt, comes out a beautiful squash or a garden Jerusalem artichoke or something, and he really understands those Gemaras and those Mishnayos that talk about farming and Emunah in Hashem. By the way, farming is one of those fields where you have tremendous Emunah in Hashem, because without the rain, you are done. Yes, he has irrigation. You can't make up for the rain, though. Let me ask you, Mr. Perlman, do you think this is the best profession for Emunah?
Probably so.
Probably so. Explain that. How is that?
Well, if you stick to it, then 1 year can be a failure, ostensibly, and to plant again, you have to realize all comes from the Kodesh Baruch Hu, and the next year can be completely different, and you have to go weiter and plant again, despite the year before's failure. ostensibly.
Mm-hmm.
But then you've gained Hatzlacha in culturing the garden of Amunah.
How can you really feel Hashem is with you through farming?
Well, since nothing else regulates the temperature and regulates the rainfall, one has to ask for the correct ingredients for a crop success. And so he has to ask the one who provides the ingredients. Therefore, he has to culture his vocabulary, and he refines it every year, and makes it so that he asks Dafka what he wants. It has to be very precise. He has to hone his vocabulary.
Mm-hmm. And let me ask you, do you buy anything at all, or you eat only what you grow?
Oh, we buy some things, yeah, oils, olive oil, and other things that we don't produce on the farm. Well, we eat a good percentage of what we grow.
And if you don't have refrigeration and no electricity, how do you keep this stuff from rotting from one year to the next?
We have a root cellar where we can keep all the root crops, and we have other crops that we keep at room temperature, like the winter squashes, and garlic, and onions. So we have a complete menu throughout the year, and then we wait for the next crop, and with no plastic wrapping, and no frozen foods, and no canned foods, just relying on the natural packaging, so to speak, that Kodesh Baruch Hu provides.
You know, if you're a veggie, a tzimchani, where do you get your protein from? We get it from fish and meat. How do you get protein, animal protein, if it's all vegetation? How do you do that?
Well, we know how to combine amino acids to make complete protein. So it becomes second nature. We don't have to think about it much. We just know what complements to make complete protein.
And does anybody ever visit you out there from the community of New York area?
Yeah, more and more people from Lakewood.
Lakewood, New Jersey, come up there?
Yeah.
You told me once that all of a sudden in the middle of the summer, some chassid showed up.
Yeah.
And can you imagine in Jonesport where there not too many Jews, this guy in black shows up? Tell me about that story.
Oh, the Satmar Chassid, yeah, a good friend of ours, and showed up one day as I was tilling. I looked up when I hit the fence line, and he said, Shalom Aleichem. Right, needless to say, that was a surprise, and he just showed up. He likes to sea kayak, and he likes to go to places that aren't so crowded, and likes the beautiful scenery, and to be alone without numerous crowds. So he stayed over, we learned, he stayed in the area for a few days, and we learned every day Humish, Mishnayos. Oh, quite a nice time.
How did he know where you were? How did he find you?
Well, he knew a little bit that I was up there, but he didn't know exactly where, but he noticed the sign that said vegetables closed Saturday. So he figured that was the place.
That was the place. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen from Torah Anytime, let me tell you, his gourmet organic food is sold in the most expensive hotels up there in Maine. If you ever heard about Bar Harbor, which is where the presidents of the United States, going back 100 years, used to visit. Bar Harbor, Maine, it still is today, a very expensive area. He sells his product in those places who want the very best organic, jumbo-sized, naturally grown food. And if you ever had any of his food, You would love it. A couple of years ago, he was on Torah Anytime too, and someone called me up after the show. Can you give me Mr. Perlman's telephone number? I wish he could ship down to the stores in Brooklyn. I said, no. He doesn't ship anywhere out of Maine, and he doesn't do a big volume, thousands and thousands and thousands, because his product is unique and special. It's for the few smart people who want to eat the right stuff. You got to go up to Jonesport, Maine. And this summer, if you want to go and visit an interesting place, you call me. I'll give you his telephone number and exactly where to go in Jonesport, Maine. And if you're in Jonesport, you just ask for the Perlman. You don't need addresses. You just see a sign, closed Saturdays, vegetables. You know you're in the right place. And let me ask you one last question, Mr. Perlman. Are you lonely up there?
No.
He told me once he's too busy to be lonely. What do you do, for instance, in a day?
Numerous things.
Give me an example.
Well, in the winter, I have to...
winter.
Make the fires. Make the fires.
Make a fire. It's not just turning on the thermostat. How do you make the fire?
Wood. I use wood, and I... there's many things to do. I learn the Daf Yomi in the morning, and I learn Humash with Rashi, and then there's many pieces of equipment to repair, and buildings to repair, and seeds to order, and new buildings to continue construction on. So that's just a little of it.
You have a tractor?
We have a few tractors, yeah.
Few tractors and a few other vehicles for hauling and picking up stuff. And how many overall acres do you have?
20 acres.
20 acres, and all of it is cultivated?
About 6 are cultivated.
6 acres cultivated, and of the finest type of organic or gourmet type quality food. And like I told you, if you ever ate any of his vegetables, onions and potatoes, they really taste like onions and potatoes, not fertilized by artificial stuff that the commercial farmers buy in a bag. He said years ago he used to use fish, dead fish on the shore. Now he uses it that come up on with the tide. Now he uses seaweed, natural seaweed that he tills into the ground, and he does that in the fall, right?
We till it in the spring.
In the fall, so now comes April, he's going to have to start sowing and planting. And he has to order thousands of dollars worth of seeds. And you know, when you look at seeds, us city people, they'll look the same, except one comes out as a carrot, one comes out as an artichoke and a squash and a carrot, because Hashem has a miracle built into those little tiny seeds. That's the godless of the Borah Olam. And if you want to know about Amunah and godless of the Borah Olam, this is a man to speak to, Avram Perlman. Well, Mr. Perlman, what else would you like to say on this Purim?
On this Purim, it's a special treat to be here.
Thank you.
To be with from Yidden, and most people, when they go on vacation, they go in the mountains or by the ocean, away from Yidden, and they have to think of minions. Where they gonna find a minion? So when I go on a vacation, it's turned around, because I go to places where they're Yidden, and there's learning, and there's minions.
You know, he leaves his farm only once a year for 2 weeks. Comes to Muncie, New York. You know why? Because he must hear Pasha Zohar. It's a deraisa, and that's why he came 2 weeks ago to hear Pasha Zohar and the Megillah. You must hear the Megillah out of a cloth, berabim, and you have to hear Pasha Zohar. You mechuyim, laning of the Torah every Shabbos or Yom Tov. It's a minhag Yisrael. It's not one of the Taryag mitzvahs. Listening to the 3 lines of Pasha Zohar, those 3 psukim is a mitzvah d'oraisa. He always spends his 2 weeks in New York area, and his kids are grown and married in all different places, and he and his wife are on that farm, and they come down. They're ole regel to New York area every year, to hear Pasha Zohar and be Purim with us and Megillah. And you know, in Eretz Yisrael, the people used to be Ola Regel 3 times a year. And even they came from Safas, they went down to Yerushalayim. That's called Ola. It doesn't mean physically up or down. It means you elevate your spirit. This man is a very unique person who spends his time correctly. He's very busy on the farm in the winter to prepare equipment, like he told you, and building. In the summer, he gets up way before sunrise. And he works and learns every single night of his life on the telephone. Well, I have to say to everybody, he has to go back. He's leaving in a few days. And he already got his matzah, because they don't bake matzahs up there in Maine. He got to have his matzah right now. He has to think ahead what's going to be in 4 weeks from now, Pesach. And he and his wife are up there in Jonesport. If you want to visit them, call me. I'll tell you the most beautiful place in the world. You want to work on the farm a little bit too, maybe, huh? You want to work on a tractor and really find out what work is? Not sitting on a swivel chair and making phone calls. No, work. We don't know what that is. W-O-R-K. There's a special, some people still do that, you know. This man does that. He's a healthy person. Look at him, 98 years old. Look how he looks. Not exactly, but you'll never guess his age. Never. All right, Rabbi Isai, I want to thank you, and don't turn off your computer, because I have to read to you something that will split your sides. It's called My Bar Mikvah Speech. And Mr. Perlman can leave. If he wants to stay, he can. Seid gesund und stark, freiliche Purim, and we'll see you, I hope, before next Purim when Mashiach comes. He'll probably be ahead of a farm in Israel, a big Moshav or something like that. Freiliche Purim. My Bar Mikvah Speech. Today I am 13 years old, and it's my opportunity to become an alter yid. I thank my Tiv Tyra Eltram. They had Rachamonis, and sent me to the local bar mikvah school so I could learn what I got to do. My Rabbi, Rabbi Lo Klum, and my other Rabbi, Rabbi Bar Reik, asked me to promise to put on my tachrichim every day, and that I should kiss my scissors also. I'm going to wear my telescope, my tehillim, every single day, 7 days a week. I'm going to go to shul to hear the Chazer daven. And I'm going to read my Chatzmach and Shimon Esri. My teachers and parents, Lo Aleinu, also teach me about the Homim Tashim. The Yomim Tovim. The Jewish holidays. They taught me about the holiday called Russian Schooner and Yankee Clipper. And where everybody gets sick from fasting. I sit in shul all day long and daven from my mamzer. That's when we all bet on baseball games. That's why they're called the days of penance. And we only attend Orthodox synagogues which has a high chalitza. A high mitzitza. On the first day of Rosh Hashanah, all the boys and girls go down to the river for tachlis. Then comes Sikkos, when they all go to the sukkah and get sicker from the liquor. That's when my grandfather comes home from school with a lulu and a hayshrik to shake. Then there's the holiday of Passover. We all go to my grandfather's house and we all eat our zayda. Grandfather sits there with a strudel on his head and wears a long kvittel. That's when I recite the 4 kachkas. That's the story that begins with Ma Neshevitz Halele Chazeh Mikol HaChazerim. After the 4 kachkas, it's my turn to hide the apikoris. Then we eat the makas with murder sauce, which we dip in horror sauce. Charoses. They also taught me about Chanukah. That's when we light a large Chanukah liquor, which we put in a large metzora. In school we play games with the Chanukah Yankee Doodle. The Chanukah Droodle. The Chanukah Droodle. Then we also play cards a lot, like my father does all year long. Then there's a great and famous holiday called Bar Room. When we read the Bar Room Magefa, when everybody gets drunk, plastered and stoned. We'll all go to my grandfather's house again and eat his flamentashen. My rabbis, Rahman and Litzlan, also taught me about Jewish history, which it contained in them books like the Chumash and Misa Meshuna and the 63 volumes of Gamliel. It all started with our forefather Abe Ofini, Izzy Ofini, and Jake Ofini. They're also about the great leader Ma'osur Labrenu. They also taught me about the famous troublemaker Yerubim about, and about the Jewish fighters and heroes Yehuda Macaroni, Menachem X, and King Davy Crockett. You know, Friday is the Mohammedan Sabbath. That's why it's called Arab Sabbath. I learned that every time before I eat, I should make a brach. And I shouldn't eat meat unless it's killed by a shegitz, while the Mashiach is watching. Ich will danken meine Rabbis, was haben wir geteacht das jüdische Sprach, als they gut zu sorgen. I want to thank my parents for the wonderful bar mikveh they made for me, how they worked on Shabbos and Yom Tov to bring me up to be a good, decent Jew. I hope they will have a lot of menuchas from me, and in the later years, when they pass away, I will sit shivering for them. I promise to say Kiddush over them and visit their mitzvahs every year. Oh yes, in closing, I would like to say that one should always honor one's parents. My mother, Olav Hasholem, was a real Eishes Ish. And she came from a very fine yichud. It's funny, no one ever spoke about that. She would always wear a kichel or a shtetl on her head. Everybody knew her as a real and fine Isha Kadesha. And her behemisha cooking was unbelievable. For Shabbos, she baked the best chalishkes in the neighborhood. Before lighting the Shabbos knedlach, she would put money in the kishke. She was head machashefa of the burial society. That was called the Chevre Shas. She ordered that all bereaved shall be treated as a meis mitzvah and use only mayim shalanu for the tahara. And the 7 close relatives, you know what they're called, you know, the Shiva Nikiyim, to be treated with respect. She ordered that if one was too poor for a proper tahara, the 3 gedolei ha'ir, you know what they are called, shalosh seudos, should pay for it from the money of the Paraduma fund. She also commanded that the close relatives, you know, the Sheva Arayos, can carry the body to the base Hakatores. Also, so not to embarrass the poor people, all the coffins, all the Aroni HaKodesh, had to be covered with a plain and simple kapores. My father, Zeicher L'Tzias Mitzrayim, was a great and prominent Tanis Chalom. He was a shechita in the old world. He also came from the finest yichud, and no one even knew about that. That's funny. You know, he was an honor to look at. He had a long, white azus panim. Every Friday night he would hold a bechar of wine and say Kaddish so sweetly. And for every situation he had a Jewish saying, either from the Torah, or the Nevi'im, or from the Keruvim. In shul they always gave him either Shlishi or Nifter. And we never spoke in shul except doing Chazoras Hashatz. On Yom Kippur you should have seen him fall Koreich. And on Simchas Torah we danced all the 7 Hashkochos. He was famous for his sefer called Svoras Hakeres. And then his second sefer called Divrei Bilbul Imrei Tipshus. He was president of the congregation called Rodfei Kesef, Anshe Mirmo of Kelm. He used to give a weekly pilpushir in Sifrei Stira the Kozov. He was well known as the Bluff Hayadua of the Shir Hashavua. And he used to tell me and my 2 brothers, you know, I have 2 brothers, Yankel and Shmuel, he said that we should always thank Hashem that we are not following the ways of immorality and perversion. In fact, there's a daily bracha we say about this. After Brichas HaTorah, you know, it's the one that goes, Shlo Asani Gay. Hashem will punish them, you know, as it says, Hey Shiv Gemul Al Gayim. He was a partner in the well-known old age home called Gnebische Stick Nursing Home in Bedminster, Massachusetts. He was loved by his friends and customers, and also he did not understand Yiddish. They nicknamed him Ganef the Kapson. When he got old, he lived out his life at the Ir Hanidachas Geriatric Rehabilitation Center. His 2 brothers, Sorer and Morer, got in trouble with the Jewish authorities for selling lookalike plastic esrogim, mehudarim, and microchips in the tefillin shorosh that answered every kaddish with a very loud Amen Yehi Shmei Rabba. These two uncles of mine had a very fancy funeral at the Makar Hatuma funeral home. May they both rest in pieces in Gehenna, New Jersey. I also would like to thank my two brothers, Pesach Sheni, for helping me with this bar mikvah speech. I forgot to mention my brother Yankel Klutz. In yeshiva he grew long curly peiros, and he learned with such haskalah. He learned Baba Kama, Baba Metzia, Baba Maises. He knew every din and cheshbon, and he just loved the Mashiach's Musar snooze. My sister had a wonderful chasana. She walked down the aisle while the chazer sang Baruch Hashem. And let me tell you, the challah was just beautiful when she stood under the chutzpah with her cousin. Her Shver and Shvister were simply crazy about her. You should know we are very strict ourselves. We're terribly fussy about the meat we eat. It has to have the best hashkafa. And we only use Chelev Yisrael. And at our Purim Suda, we always serve stuffed gachkas, and for Sukkot we pick the finest hadassim and averos. I really schlepp nachas from my family, and I'm sure they'll all grow up to be Roshei Svivos, but busy with Kaver Rechokim. And in Yetzer Hara, we'll all have a Siyata D'Shleimon with all of our children. In closing, let me wish you every success in our own Mamalokshin, Hatzola Rabba. Aleichem Hashalom. Have a very freilich Purim.